Hey there guys, Peter here back with another video for you. Today we're continuing our gaming project. Okay, pause. Here's the thing. I had this video for a long time, and then I noticed that the audio was crap. Not that this one is going to be much better, but believe me, the old one was literally crap. Then I re-recorded it. It was, again, crap. Then I decided to re-record the entire video with a new audio, meaning I had to reprogram the entire thing. And then some other things happened, and then the Nintendo Switch came out, and then the Skyrim remastered version came out. Basically what I'm saying is this is the reason why this video took so long. Anyways, now with that out of the way, I'm just going to go through the cliff notes about this video and show you what I did programming wise. I'm gonna create a group which will help me with the organization of the project. The group is called Zones. In it, I'm going to create a parent object. It's going to be named parent zone. Basically, in the parent object, I'll do all the coding, and all other objects under that parent object will execute the code without having to have the code in them. I'll explain it as it goes. Okay, this is going to be named Zone 0. I'm assigning the sprite zone. I'm going to assign its parent object to parent zone. Okay. Now, I'm going to duplicate this object and call this one the new one, zone 1. And I'm going to duplicate the new object and call this one zone 2. Now we have 3 different zones. It's good to have obj in front of the object names and SPR in front of the sprite names. It really helps with the organization. Now, in the create event, meaning in the start, when the object is created, we're going to have a simple indexing code. Index equals 0. Zone 0 will have an index of 0. There we go. That's all the code we're going to have in this object. In object zone 1, in its create event, we're going to have the code of index equals 1. That's all we're going to need. I mean, seriously, this is all we're going to need for the objects. All other code will be in the parent object, and we'll just reference the specific instance of each zone just by the index and nothing else. This is all we're going to need. There we go. Now we have 3 zones. Now I can have even 1,000 zones if I wish to. As long as I set their parent object to parent zone, I just have to write one code and it will be executed as many times as it needs to be. Now we're going into the parent object and we're jumping into the step event. Now pause. GameMaker is one of those engines that ties up physics and calculations and game speed and everything to its frame rate. Basically, every frame has a few different events. It has its create event, it has its step event, basically it has 3 step events. That's something different. And at the end, after all other events, the last event that is executed is the draw event. So it calculates everything in the different events and then it draws the screen with everything already calculated and set up. So everything we have in this game is going to be tied to our frame rate, which is going to be 60. I'm going to show you that later on. Anyways, our step event is basically each frame is one step. If we have frame rate of 60, we basically have 60 steps, so each step is every one frame. Okay, here in the step event we're going to have a simple code. I'm going to fix the name here because I haven't done that before. Basically the code we're going to write here is going to be the code that determines what sprite and what image of the what subimage of the sprite we're going to have in each different situation. And because the different zones are basically children objects of this parent object, the code we're having in the parent object is going to be automatically executed in each children object. So let's start with a few if statements. This is basically all the code we need. It is a lot and lots of if statements. So if object banner, let's check the variable. The variable is drag. I made a mistake here, which I'm going to fix up later. So if the drag is false, basically we have 5 different situations. I want a visual feedback for every different situation. If I have heroes in this location, if I don't have heroes in this location, if I'm dragging a banner to this location and I'm close enough that if I drop it, it will snap to this location, and if I'm not close enough but I'm still dragging it somewhere around, all those different situations I need visual feedback for. This is why I have a few different subimages in the zone sprite. So if the drag equals false, meaning if I'm not dragging the banner, and here I have 2 different situations, if I already have a character or if I don't have a character. If object data dot location square brackets index, this is all I need. Remember guys, every different zone has different index. Index 0.3, meaning we're checking this is the variable with the amount of heroes in this location, equals 0, meaning if there are no heroes in this location currently, we have image index equals 0. The white empty circle with nothing in it, if I have no heroes in this location and I'm not dragging the banner to it. And if I have somebody in this location, image index will be 1. Now, this is if I'm not dragging the banner. Now, if I'm dragging the banner, it's basically the same thing with a couple of differences. First off, this thing here is going to be 3. Meaning that now I'm dragging the banner, but I still have nobody in this location. I need the image to be, actually it's 2. Now I'm dragging this location is eligible for new characters to arrive into. And here is 3, right? 3, yeah, if I have somebody in this location, but yeah, that's it. If else. Now all I need to do is make a small check and see if we're already dragging something in this location, and if I drop it, it will snap to its new location. Yeah, I know it sounds very complicated, but I'll demonstrate it when the gameplay is done. If mouse X, no, it shouldn't be mouse X, it should be point distance. Point underscore distance between 2 points with X and Y coordinates. So if point distance mouse X, because I'm dragging it to the mouse position, so it's going to have mouse X and mouse Y and the current X and Y of this location. So XY and then mouse X and mouse Y. So the distance between the location of the current location of this specific instance and the mouse location is smaller than the object data, I believe, snap range, snap distance. What did I name that? Let's check that just to be sure. Object data. Snap range. Yeah, it's not snap distance, it's snap range. So this thing will now show me if I drop the banner now, that it will snap to the current location it's in. Image index equal 4. This is just visual feedback. All this code is purely for visual feedback and nothing else. There we go. The code is done, all objects automatically being children will execute this code no matter what. Okay, now that I made this, I've noticed something that I haven't put in the object banner, and I need to if I'm going to really throw information between the two objects, the object banner and the database. It's going to be object data dot location I dot 3 in square brackets plus equals 1. Basically this is telling the database that we're having a new character entering this new zone, and for that we're going to have the same thing, just telling that from the last zone object data dot location square bracket last zone in comma 3 minus equals 1. Basically this line of code tells, well, we're taking somebody from this location, meaning this old location do not have this character anymore, it has one less character. Then we're going to create the room. And I'm going to name the room test room. There we go. Test underscore room. There we go. Now, this is basically going to be our entire world. This is where everything will take place. I'm going to up the speed to 16. This is basically the frame rate and the calculation speed and everything else. Now we'll jump to the objects and we'll start placing our zones and everything else. First off, we'll put our object data because we'll need this database. If we're going to use anything from it, we're going to need to have it in the room. I'm going to put the zones into somehow random locations. I'm going to also put the banner down here. Here on the minimap on the bottom we see how this thing looks like. Now let's test it really fast. It's going to spew back an error, and that's not really a big deal. Location I plus I name this. Okay, now because I'm rusty, I'm going to have a lot of bug fixes and stuff to do. I can easily just put whatever name I want to, but I'm just going to put an empty string here. It doesn't really matter, it's going to be a randomly generated name later on anyways. Now let's test it again. Another not set before reading variable, another error. I notice it now that I'm talking over already recorded footage, but back then I didn't notice it. Up here, I decided that the game was trying to read it before the object was actually created, which was something completely different than the actual issue is. So now what I'm going to decide to do is that I'm going to delete this object from the room and create it from the database. Because God knows why I decided to do that, but doesn't really matter. So anyways, instance create current location XY. This will basically create the object whenever I decide. I can do it at any time. Object banner. There we go. Play. Now I'm going to have the same error because this is not the solution to the issue. Object banner, object drag. Now I've noticed the spelling error I've made. Yeah, there we go. I saw it. I found it. There we go. The variable is actually called drag, not object drag, as I was naming it. Now, new test. This time it started. Now let's see what the issues are. Now, first off, this thing does not follow the mouse. The banner does not follow the mouse. So what I need to do is a line of code that basically tells this object to follow the mouse in our step event, meaning every frame, as I said before. We're going to make a small check. If our variable for dragging, which I cunningly named drag, is equal to true, meaning if we're dragging the banner, we're going to set our x to the mouse x and our y coordinate to the mouse y coordinate. Meaning basically the banner will go wherever the mouse is. And that's it. That's the entirety of this code. Seriously though, that's the entirety of this code. Everything else is set in our left released event. So let's test this thing. Bop, and there we go. Point distance, xy object data dot location. Okay, not set before reading it. Abort. It's up there. Drag equal false, if blah 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 blah, if point distance, object data location smaller than snap range. It should be object data dot snap range because this is basically the variable in the object data, not in our current object. Now, yeah, now it moves properly. There we go. You see, this is what I mean. I'm dragging and it changes its icon, and now when I'm close enough to snap on the new location, it changes its icon again, and now I have an issue. Not set before reading it. Object data dot location last zone in 3 minus equal 1. Oh yeah. Okay, another issue with my syntaxes. Basically this is all coding mistakes that I made because I'm rusty. It's last zone in. So yeah, just press X instead of Z. I haven't coded in a long time before I started this project. That doesn't really matter. There we have an issue. Again, we have some glitch in the matrix. But we're not snapping to the locations, or we're doing whatever we need to do. Now I did some time of watching and reading and wasting time trying to find out what I did wrong. And what I did wrong is I did not send the information back from the each zone back to the object data, because object data need to store the locations where the banner needs to snap to. So I'm just going to do that now. I'm going to send the information back to object data. X equal object data x equal object data dot location index 0, actually index 1. And now I'm going to do the same thing with index 2, and it's going to be y, not x. And now all we need is this thing in the other two objects. There we go. Object 1, create event, the same thing again. This is basically sending the current location of each zone back to the object with the database in it. So it knows where each zone is. Now play. Oops. Oh, everything is gathered to position 000. It's very simple. I just mistakenly turned it around. I need to set the data to the current location x and y, not the current location to already known data, because the data is unknown yet. It's just an empty database. So now I'm going to do this small correction, because currently I was taking the information from the database, which is empty, and now I'm sending the information back to the database. I just turned the way around. And now let's see what's going on. There we go. It's set to 0. It's set to... Now you need to go to... Okay, here we have some issue. It snapped to location 0. It doesn't snap to location 3 though. It just goes back to location 0. It doesn't snap to location 2 though. It just goes back to location 0. Now, this in the banner is the main bulk of the code, so if there is a mistake, it's going to be here. Let's look around. If point distance, object location I, 1, object location I, object data location I, 1, it should be I, 2. So we're basically mistakenly looking for the x coordinate in the y axis. So now that we fixed that, let's check again. Okay, it's fixed. It fits nice to location 0 and not to any of the other two. It means that we have issues somewhere else. Minus equals 0. Jesus Christ, I'm an idiot. No, whatever I do is just goes back to snapping in the position 0 and I get location 0, and it just stays there, and it gives it throws the game in a loop. Something is not set properly or not communicated properly between the elements, between the objects. This is the main bulk of the coding, basically jumping from object to object and communicating data between the different objects. So now that I took some time and tried to find out what have I done wrong, I tried to hard code some data in order to make it snap properly to proper location it does not want to. Now everything we see in this object in the zone is basically fine because this is just image indexing. There is nothing to do with anything else here. The bulk of the code is inside the banner object, so wherever the mistake is, it's here. Here I've noticed that I have typed minus equals 0 instead of minus equal 1, which means that I did no change in this variable. Here I tried to debug message, and everything I do, it just showed me 0, no matter which location I drop the banner, it always showed me last zone in S0. So now that I think all of this thing through, I decided to basically take all this code out of the loop. Create a new variable named temp zone, which is basically named temporary zone. We'll give it value of 0. Now in this big piece of thing, I'm just going to take all this code out of the loop and just use the variable temp zone equal I. That's it. That's all I'm going to use. There you go. Temp underscore zone equal I. That will allow me to take all this code out of the loop, meaning it will be executed only just once and only once, and that would be it. Now I'll set it to -1 instead of 0 that I set it before, and it's very simple. I'll just check if after all this thing, if the variable temp zone is larger than -1, meaning if it changed, if our character has been dropped to a new location, it's just going to change its location and all its data to the temp zone that it's currently supposed to go to. There we go. Last zone in will be equal to temp zone. Next subject I1 and I2 temp zone. It's temp zone. There we go. Just a temporary variable that we're using temporarily, and this is why it's temporarily zone. And now we're set it back to -1 to know that everything is finished and we're finished using this thing and we can use it again. There we go. If it's still -1 after that, meaning that nothing has changed. There we go. Now let's check this. Nope, it's still not working. Okay. Okay, why is it not working? Nobody knows. After taking some more time looking at this thing, I've noticed that all of this is fine. I just needed to take this code out of, there we go. I just needed to take all this code, going to cut it out, and I'm going to take it out of the for loop. It's all fine, it just needed to be out of all the other loops and all the other if statements, simply because it throws the game off if it doesn't need to be in the other statement. This is basically the last thing the game needs to do if anything has changed. So it needs to be completely separated from all other loops and if statements. And now that it's out of all the other loops and if statements, let's check how this thing is doing. There we go. Perfect. Very nice. It even changes the image indexing for zone 1 and 2, but not for zone 0. Zone 0 seems to be off for some reason. And I'm not really sure why. There is something wrong with the indexing, but the thing is, it's wrong only with the indexing of zone 0. So have I done something wrong with zone 0? No, it's just the standard stuff. Yeah, it's nothing different than the other zones. I don't know what's going on. Zone 1, yeah, it's the same code basically. So why does zone 0, zone 2? So why does the zone 0 image indexing is going off? So after some wasting of time, I just remembered that we're spawning our hero at location 0, but we haven't tell the database that we already have a character on location 0, and this is why it throws the entire thing off. So all we need to do is go back to our object data and add location 03, meaning heroes in location 0 will be equal to 1. 03 equal to 1 because we're spawning our first banner in location 0 from the get-go. Now let's check how this thing is going now. There we go. There we go. Now that we'll move it away to location 1, it's changing perfectly. This is what I wanted. I wanted different visual feedback when I'm moving the banner, different visual feedback when I can drop the banner in clear and close enough to the zone, and different visual feedback when I'm not doing anything else. There we go. That's basically what I wanted. If you have any specific questions, ask them because I'm not sure I properly explained what I have done, but this has been more of a bug fixing episode and code fixing and everything else than properly coding and stuff, so it's a bit more out there than usual. I'm sorry if things are not completely clear, just ask and I'll do what I can to explain it. Here, for example, I'm just aligning the banner a bit differently. I'll show it just at the second. There we go. Meaning, there we go, look at this. Now I can have a second banner on the bottom of the first one, and we can have two of them at the same location without any issue. They'll be aligned perfectly without stepping over each other. So yeah, that's all that's all I have for now, and I hope I'll be able to upload the next video fairly soon. I hope tomorrow or the day after that. I don't know. I hope it will not take a week this time. But anyways, really, if you have any questions, just ask them in the comment section because I'm not sure that I properly explained everything. Subscribe to my channel to not miss the next video where I fuck up the explanation of what I'm actually doing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.